Hey book friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a tag video. My gosh, I haven't done a tag video in ages, but this one looked really fun and I liked it because it is a check-in on my current reading. So it's like, what have I read so far in 2024? Almost like a quarter one check-in. Like we have like the mid-year freak out tag and like the one in the fall. So one in the spring just was really fun. So I'm going to answer all the questions, obviously. Plus maybe I might add a few of my own. And so let's just hop in. Let's hop in and chat about the last 3 months of reading. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, all the things. So like I said, I am doing a book tag. It's called the Quarter Year Crisis book tag, I think. So kind of in line with that mid-year freak out book tag. The original was put out by Sav over at Riveting Reads. So go check out her channel. Actually, she was new to me. I'm not sure how I haven't heard of her, but I kind of poked around her channel and I like a lot of her stuff. So I subscribed to her channel, but go check her out. That's where I have gotten the majority of the questions for today's video. And also obviously just consider yourself tagged. I think it's a really fun kind of check-in video for this time of year. Okay, let's just hop into the questions though, because that's what we're all here for. Okay, so question 1 is, how many books have you read so far? I've read 19 books as of the day of filming this, so it's early April. 19 books, which actually for me is ahead of schedule according to Goodreads, because I always put 52 books for my yearly goal, and that's about what I always end up with. So 19 books, so I'm doing really good. Second question, have you already found a book you think might be a 2024 favorite? If not, what was your favorite book you read that wasn't quite 5 stars? All right, I've had a really good reading year. I'm not quite sure if it's just kind of how I have been approaching this year, my reading, my video creation, all the things. I've just kind of switched my intentions a bit and I'm just trying to read books I know I'm going to love. And since I'm not a booktuber who reads lots and lots of books, I'm able to kind of pick and choose. So yes, I've had a lot of 5 stars. And yes, I'm sure I've had some books that will make it into my 2024 favorites video. I'm not sure if all of these will, but as for the first 3 months of the year, I have 3 books that I would say have been favorites. And I would say all 3 of these books not surprised me, but I wouldn't have predicted these to be the books I respond to in this question. But irregardless, I loved this book, The Collected Regrets of Clover by Miki Brahmer. You guys, this is so good. I actually made a whole reading blog about that. I don't do many blogs, but I did a fun scavenger hunt. I'll link the video above if you want my thoughts on it, but it's basically about this girl named Clover. She's a little bit obsessed with death, but the book is really not about that. It's more about her growth as a person, as a character, as she lets more people into her life instead of just kind of being closed off, both like emotionally and like physically, like just by herself a lot. So I really like this book. It's so good. The other one that I want to talk about is this one, The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. Oh, this is by Shannon Chakraborty. Now, I just read this last month and I loved it. I was so surprised as to how much I love this story. As a character-driven reader, I really just love the character of Amina. I think that's what sold me to really be engaged with this story. Amina is this like notorious pirate that has retired. So 1, she's a female pirate. 2, she's retired, so that means she's older aged. And I feel like that doesn't happen very much in fantasy, to have like a middle-aged character who is your main character, and was very much an adventure story, like get the gang back together, we're gonna go back out and face something, right? But I enjoyed all of that. I enjoyed all the relationships she had from her previous life, including like husband. Enough said. If you've read it, you know what I mean. But so good. So good. And so I think that one will be on my favorites for the year, as well as this. I just finished reading this. Oh my gosh. The more I sit with this, the more I just loved it. The more I was like, that ending was so good. And you guys, I hadn't watched the movie, so I was literally surprised. I had not been spoiled for the end of this book, which I feel like is hard to come by, especially with how popular that last movie was. Such a good book. It's about a murder on a train, and it's kind of got that closed room aspect to it where it's like, it has to be one of these people. Everybody's a suspect. Can we order the events correctly? Can we put all the clues together correctly? What are the clues that are meant to distract us? Agatha Christie, she's just a genius. I really, really loved this book. So those 3 books were what I would say are high contenders for my best of list. Okay, moving on though Any 1-star or least favorite books of the year? Okay, I have 2, and neither of them are 1-star. I would never get to a point of 1-star. I feel like I would just DNF it. There's some tropes that I really don't like, and if I see that the book is going that way, I'll just stop reading it. So for me, I would say most of the books that always land on my least favorite list tend to be thrillers. That is just because of the type of reader I am. I really enjoy thrillers. I just have to remind myself they're not character driven, and so I have to go into them with proper expectations. And that works for me most of the time. Now, I get to some thrillers that it's not the character issue, it's not anything, it's just I get let down kind of by the story. I did not love this one. No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. Now, do I think it's a terrible book? Do I think it's the worst thriller ever? No, I thought there was a lot of engaging aspects to it. I just feel like the things I wanted fell flat. And the things I wanted from this book involved the character interactions of the sisters, because it's about 3 sisters who go back to their parents' home that's been pretty much abandoned since their childhood because of the tragedy of their parents' deaths that happened in the house. And you are spending time figuring out what happened then. So it's very much a past present sort of book while it's telling the story while you figure out what's going on. And I feel like it was good. I don't know, it was lacking something for me. So is this a 1-star? No, it was a 3-star. So put that in perspective. And then the other one I just finished as well, and it's the newest Simone St. James. So another new release thriller. This one I talked about in my latest wrap-up video, but I feel like I liked a number of things about this. I like the paranormal aspect, which is very much in the blurb for the book, so that's not a spoiler. I like that. I liked some of the characters, not all of the characters, but my problems kind of came down to believability. Do I believe any person truly would have done the things they did? No. And then also, like, I think the ending was kind of a little lackluster. I think that's the best way to put it for that book. Was it bad? No. 3 stars. Again, I liked it. I finished it. I didn't hate my reading experience. I just was so-so about it. So those are the 2 books, 2 thrillers that I would say are on the bottom of my reading. But again, it's just because I've read so many good books. Okay. So now it asks most read genres so far. Fantasy. And I've read 10 books. 10 of 19 have been fantasy. I've read some thrillers, some mysteries. I read that Collected Regrets, which was more contemporary, and then I read a romance. I feel like that's very representative of what I feel like reading right now, and I'm following that instinct this year. So fantasy is very much my answer. A book that surprised you. Okay, I already talked about this, but Amina Al-Sarafi surprised me. I totally judged the book by the cover. I said, like, no, I don't like pirate books, but I do. I really enjoyed this one. I just couldn't have predicted that I would have liked the main character. Another book, though, that surprised me is this one. Now, is it an all-time favorite book? No, but I think I sometimes fall into the trap of like hearing other people talk about books and assuming I'm going to feel the same way. And I'm trying not to do that this year. I'm trying to enter into books and be like, if I like it, I like it, regardless of what everybody's saying. Like, for instance, a good example of this would be, where is it? I'm just going to pull it out. The Fury. I read this year and I loved it. I thought it was so fun. And I read it the month it came out, which is really good because now I've been hearing so many people dislike it. Whatever. I liked it. Back to where I was talking. This book surprised me. It's the second book in the Shades of Magic trilogy. The first book is The Darker Shades of Magic, and this one's A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. I liked the first book. I really liked this one. I feel like what it is for me is, yes, this reads a little YA. Yes, there was some conveniences, but was I entertained? Yes, I very much was entertained. I wanted to pick it up. I kept being like, oh, how can I fit this into my day? I'll read a little bit here, I'll read a little bit there. And when I behave like that, I know I really like a book, because other times I'll be like, oh, I'll just wait. I'll read that later. You know, I'm not going to try hard to try and fit it in. But this is kind of book that I wanted to read while I was cooking, if that's a good example of kind of my level of enjoyment and entertainment from the book. It had a bit of a competition going on, which I won't tell you too much since it's the second book, but I do love a good competition in a book. I think they're entertaining. I think it's really fun. I feel like it was definitely building up for the third book, which I'm going to be reading shortly, and I'm fine with that. It didn't fall into the second book syndrome for me. A lot of people might say differently. I'm not actually sure. It's been a while since people have been talking about this book, so that's kind of nice. And the whole gist of the series is that there's this girl named Lila who lives in what's called Grey London. And in these books, there are multiple Londons. There's gray, red, black, and white, and they are kind of different versions of London with different levels of magic. Grey London having no magic. And then she meets a man from Red London named Kel because he's able to travel between the worlds. And she meets him in the first book, and things happen there. And there are definitely repercussions of that book in the second book and kind of moving forward through the series. So I was surprised. I like it. And that just proves to me that I should not listen to other people. Am I right? So let's move on. Book that came out in 2024 already that you want to read but haven't yet. I got this from the library. I finally got my hold in. And the hard thing is I have so many other books I'm reading right now that I'm like, oh, I need to fit it in before it goes back to the library. And that's A Tempest of Tea by Hefsa Fazal. I'm not quite sure how to say that. But it's the author of We Hunt the Flame, which I actually happen to have that series, or duology. I haven't read it yet. What drew me to this book and why I picked this to answer this question is because it has a heist. I really am fond of heist stories, like the first Mistborn book, Six of Crows. There's some other ones that I've just really enjoyed. I honestly don't know exactly what it's about, other than the fact that I think there are vampires involved. I heard that, but I didn't really realize that. I was just drawn into the heist plotline. So anyway, I want to read that book. I added a question only because I'm a series reader and I don't think the original tag creator is a series reader, but I put favorite series so far. Now, Amina is an obvious answer for that, is because it's going to be a series. I think it's supposed to be a 3-book series. Shannon Chakraborty is writing the second book, which I'm really excited about. But if I were to pick a series that I started in 2024 that I really enjoyed, kind of surprised me when I was looking at what I had read and thinking about what I had really enjoyed, is I really enjoyed the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. I feel like people love it or hate it, right? It's definitely a YA fantasy series. It's got some romance, but it's just really fun and engaging, and I just flew through them, and I picked them up at a time when I just really needed that just really fun, quick read type book. And these are about a girl named Jude who is a human growing up in the fairy realm, and she's always trying to prove herself as tough enough and all these things, even though she is not a fairy and doesn't have all these extra like powers, and she's not beautiful and all these things. And in this first book, we also meet the prince, the cruel prince. He's part of this family that rules this land, and he's like the youngest of a terrible family, really. And he takes that out on those around him, and he's just quite terrible and despicable, especially to our main character of Jude. Now, of course, I didn't love that. That is not my favorite aspect of the book. I loved the character of Jude. I loved just her spunkiness. I loved how she went after things, even though she clearly was like an underdog, right, in this world. And then just things happen from there. And I did really like the Jude Carden, which is the prince's name. I loved their interactions as kind of the books progressed. So that's what I'm going to say as like my favorite series so far this year of 2024. One that at least I've read in 2024. Obviously, there's other ones that I started last year, like the David Bad series, like the Thursday Murder Club series, that are all-time favorites. Those don't even count. Okay, next is one goal you made that you're succeeding at. So I didn't make an official like goals video this year. That's fine. Mainly because I wanted to focus on a couple things. I wanted to focus on keeping reading really fun and community. And I have done both of those things really well. Like I said, I'm just reading what I want. I'm reading for fun. I'm not trying to feel like, oh, what would people want to hear me read? No, I just want to read what I'm feeling drawn to, whether it's I'm going to stop off on a YA trilogy series, or I'm going to have a more impactful, emotional, contemporary book type idea. You know, it's like, I'm going to read what I want. And it's been great. And I feel like that pressure, which, let's be honest, I was the only one putting that pressure on myself. That pressure's gone, and it's just really fun to share and talk books again. The other thing was community. I wanted to participate more. I want to pick up readathons. I want to be involved. I joined some Patreons that I have loved. I have really, really enjoyed. And that has made my reading year, you guys. It really has. And that would have been the case even if I wasn't sharing my books here on YouTube. Okay, next one is one goal you made you need to focus on. I don't think there's any. Like I said, those were my two main goals. I've been trying to be more intentional, so no. I'm really proud of that, actually. No, there's not a goal that I wanted to work on more. I think I'm doing good. The next and last question is booktubers, bookstagrammers, book talkers. I'm not on TikTok. It sounds too overstimulating for me, but ones that I have found in 2024 that I recommend. So I do have old favorites that I watch all the time. Like whatever video they put out, I will watch. But I have started watching two other people that I really like, and that's Liv's Library and Stephanie Bookish. Now, what I like about both of those booktubers is what they're reading. For Liv's Library, I had kind of watched a little bit of her content prior to that, but it was a lot more romance and things like that. I just don't read a ton of romance, but she's kind of started picking up more fantasy and like dipping into fantasy. And what I love is that we're kind of similar in that. Like we're picking up new fantasy, we're experiencing it for the first time. It's not like a channel where they've always read fantasy, and so they're just like more expert at it, if you will. She's just kind of figuring it out, and I don't know. I feel like we're similar in that. And so I'm able to get some good recommendations from her. And so I love her channel. And then Stephanie Bookish, she reads more fantasy. She's also, I feel like, pretty character driven. Like she loves all the Robin Hobb books. I just watched a video from her. And she also reads horror books, which I just can't. It's never been something that I can read. But I feel like I enjoy her vlogs. I just enjoy her personality. She just is very down to earth and very fun. So I recommend both of them. I'll link them obviously down below. But I still very much follow the people I've always followed. I love April from Getting Hugga With It. I love Jacqie. She just kind of consolidated her main channel and her book channel, which I was following both anyway. So I love her. I love Gwen and her Patreon, as well as Angela from Literature Science Alliance. Anyway, I'll link everybody down below because I feel like the book community on here is really fun. I get some good recommendations, and it's just fun to see and hear what other people think of the books I'm reading. So that's 2024 so far, kind of the first 3 months, the good, the bad, the surprising, all of the things. And so I would love to know some of your answers to these questions. If you have a channel, obviously please make this video. It's a fun one to make. But if you are watching and you want to answer, like, what's been your favorite book so far? What's been your least favorite book so far? And maybe have you started a new good series? Because I would love to hear that too, because I love some good series. But anyway, you guys, that is what I have. I hope you all are doing well, and I will talk to you in the next book video. All right, take care. Bye.